What's up, everybody, and welcome to BioWares 3 Raw TV. Today we're going to do the special edition. I want to get... God damn it, this camera angle. This is becoming a regular thing. Alright, that's better right there. Perfect. So today we're going to do the special edition muscle gain, weight gain, bulk up, get huge advice. Because I'm getting a lot of emails and comments from people. And it seems to be the younger guys too. It's not... 55-year-old guys going, hey man, I want to put on 50 pounds of muscle. I'm getting emails like, I want to be swole. I want to get huge. I want to get jacked. I want to be massive. And, the stats I'm getting are like 5'10", 130 pounds, which is pretty much where I started out. Now, first thing is, what do you consider huge? What do you consider swole? What do you consider jacked? Because to me, 180 pounds is not huge, swole, and jacked. 180 pounds is barely above average of the average lifter. So to me, when you're hitting the 240 mark, that's when you're pretty swole. Okay, you're 5'10", 240 pounds, and you're not fat, like you got a 34-inch waist, 36-inch waist. You're pretty big and pretty swole. So now you guys might be asking, well, you did drugs, Jerry, so of course that's how you get huge and how you get swole. But what you may not remember is I've told you guys before, and I'll say it again to the new people that are watching, by the time I was 19 years old, I was already 200 pounds, just a little bit above 200. I was 203. And I did have 120-pound dumbbell presses. I was squatting 315. I was putting up some good numbers and was big. I was fatter than I should have been. I'm going to call a spade because I dieted back down to 173 to do a competition that year, which means I had to lose about 30-something pounds. But bottom line was I got big and I got strong naturally as a teenager by the time I was 19. Why and how did I do that? Because I started at 135. I was the smallest kid that was my height. I was the smallest kid, whatever, excuse me, in my graduating class. So how did I go from being like the smallest kid to being one of the biggest kids around? I graduated in 93. This was by 95. I was that size. Now, what I understood from the jump was, of course, you got to train hard. You have to train hard, and it isn't necessarily long, but you have to train hard. And you have to recover. I kind of get that concept through Al Thurston and those guys at the gym. And then later on through Daniel Chapter 1, the sports nutritionist that I worked at. So I had that piece kind of figured out, but I just needed to find out what would work for me. The amount of rest, the volume, the intensity, stuff like that. And once I got the Big Beyond Belief program, that stuff pretty much took care of itself. So all I did was follow the charts, and it worked. I followed the advice that was in the book, and it worked. Now that being said, that was nailed. I also understood that as a younger teen into this stuff, like 15, 16 years old when I started, I was only eating like 2 or 3 times a day. Okay, so now I figured, okay, eat big to get big. I think I read it in Flex magazine or something like that. Made sense because I saw these bodybuilders with plates of food that were so big, and I'm sitting there going, okay, well obviously if they're eating like this is what you got to do. But how am I going to eat 6 meals a day or 5 meals a day? I'm barely getting these 3 meals a day in now, and one of them my mom makes, and then the other 2 sometimes I eat out. So how am I going to get these meals in to nourish my body? That's where I started using supplements. The rapid weight gainers from Challenge. There was MHP had one called Up Your Mass that I was using. There was another one called Mega Mass 2000, which was by Weider. There were all these weight gainers on the market that took the place of meals. There wasn't really meal replacements yet until EAS came out with their Mileplex, and that's when the meal replacement boom really started to happen. So at the same time, I couldn't really afford to keep up with all these weight gainers all the time. So I had this great idea. My mom had Carnation Instant breakfast packets at the house. It's this little, looks like a meal replacement. Essentially, that's what it is. But these things were out on the market way when I was younger as a kid. And I would take 2 of those, pour them in a glass of milk, stir it up, and drink it. And this gave me enough calories as a meal replacement to where, even though I couldn't afford to get the weight gainers, I could still take the weight gainer once a day and drink 2 of these Carnation Instant breakfast things, which were actually pretty cheap because you'd buy a box of like 10 or whatever at the supermarket, and still get my 3 meals a day, and that was enough to make me grow. I also started drinking more milk because I figured, okay, milk's got protein in it. This is just the way I thought back then. But it had a shit ton of calories in it. So at that point, I had the calories coming in. My protein was covered. I was being nourished. I had vitamins and minerals coming in. I didn't do stuff like go out and party. Excuse me. Friggin' allergies. I didn't do stuff like go out and party at that time. At that time, I was pretty much about bodybuilding. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to compete. I wanted to be big. I wanted to be huge. And I didn't care about anything else. So we would do things like Friday night, me and my girlfriend at the time, she was not into competing, but into training and bodybuilding. We would just go to McDonald's, get a bunch of food, wolf that food down, watch the X-Files, and then go to the gym in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, we had like routines that we did, and everything was set on a routine like that, and that is why I was able to get bigger faster. I remember my cousin Christopher, who I've talked about him with you guys. He's the one that passed away in the car accident that I wear his weightlifting belt. And Christopher had always been bigger than me. I mean, he was only like 5'6", but he was like 168 pounds, 170 pounds, and I walked around at like 135, 140. Well, as we were training together, I shot right past him and hit that 203 mark. He was like, what the fuck? Because he had been training pretty much for like 10 years since he was a kid. He'd been training with weights because his dad, my uncle, had taught him how to train with weights. And he couldn't figure out how the fuck I blew past him like that. I mean, some of it has to do with genetics, possibly. Some of it may not have to do with genetics because I was in the weight room a lot more than him, but I was feeding my body, but I was being 100% consistent. It means I was training on the schedule I was supposed to train on. I was eating my meals when I was supposed to eat them. I guess you would call them cheat meals. I didn't even know it at the time. I just ate. I felt like eating McDonald's. I ate it, but I had McDonald's like every Friday night on the button. Had Papa Gino's pizza every Saturday night on the button. Like, in my head, I don't even know why. I just do well with routine. I was doing these things scheduled like that and made it consistent, and that's what allowed me to grow to get to the weight that I was at and the strength that I was at. So now, what you guys got to be aware of is you got to train, make sure you're getting the food in, make sure you're getting the nutrients and rest, but consistently. You can't do it for a couple weeks and then fuck off for a couple weeks. You can't do it for a couple days and then not do it for a couple days. You got to do it consistently all the time, and that will get you to your bigger goals. So if you want to gain 20 pounds, you want to be swole, you want to be huge, you are in for a very routine lifestyle until you get there. It's no joke. It has to be done in a certain way, or you're just going to get fat, which, why would you want to walk around being fat? With a shirt on, you may look good, but you go to the beach, put a tank top on, people are like, he's fucking fat. So, you know what I mean? So be aware that you can go up there and you can go and train and you can do everything you need to do, but if you're not consistent, it's not going to happen. BioStreetTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below. www.BioStreetTraining.com is the blog, and we're out.